Today I am here to tell about the company's overview of our business, Upcycled Clothing. First, clothing industry is now one of the fast rising industry in the world. Due to the ever-changing trends in fashion, smaller firms have been established to compete with larger companies. However, in a research conducted by Riemann in 2016, clothing industry is intensive in utilizing resources and it's the most polluting industry, second to oil. Data gathered showed that 25% of the world's chemicals are used for textile and around 10% of the world's global carbon emissions result from the apparel and textile industry. So, can we do something to protect the environment and at the same time continue to wear trendy clothing? A clothing line that practically renews or recycles used clothes that are trimmed down to produce fabrics that will be used to manufacture and design newer clothes. Mainly, t-shirts will be produced in the business. Its designs came from recycled clothes which will undergo through cleaning stage to maintain its quality. By recycling clothes, you are cutting down on the required number of resources to make new products and helps to lessen the amount of natural resources needed. And that's also according to Riemann. The upcycled apparel is a continuous growing trend and is one of the most sustainable things people can do in fashion, as it makes use of already existing pieces and keeps unwanted items out of the waste stream to produce its creation. The business is one way for designers and manufacturers to be committed in altering the way they make, use, and recycle clothes, wherein second-hand fashion is deconstructed and reconstructed into current fashion. Our group will establish an upcycled clothing business that turns old products to new products. This means that a cloth pieced together from thrift store clothes made into current fashion would be upcycled and may start a longer life for them to be sold to consumers at equal, or take a note of this, even higher prices than older clothes. That means there will be more profit. Of course, our consumers will receive upcycled clothes that will undergo through premium cleaning stage for the assurance of the consumers to buy, even though parts of the products came from recycled materials. As for our form of business, we have decided to have a sole proprietorship, and it will be under the name of our business partner, Ms. Eliza Jane Sumailo. Since this type is inexpensive and has fewer legal requirements than those other form of businesses. For the location of our shop, we have decided to put up the establishment in Calamba, Laguna. The reason is simple. It's the most convenient place for all of us. We also have decided that all the expenses and profit will be distributed equally, even though it is a sole proprietorship. As the business grows further, we will have extensions in San Pedro and Santa Rosa, Laguna, which will both be also in sole proprietorship business. Also, the members will enter into a contract signing to avoid discrepancy if any situations may happen to the business. The entry strategy of upcycled clothing is to offer t-shirts for its customers. We will use clothes or cloth as a design and turn it to something fashionable, which is what separates us from other apparel stores. Upcycled clothing introduces unique, innovative, and eco-friendly t-shirts which can compete with other clothing businesses within the area where the shop will be established. Also, it will be focusing more on the quality of the product. At the same time, we will make sure that our products will still be affordable for the target market of business.
In research methodology, the proponents need quantitative data, which will compromise groups' primary data. It is more respondent-friendly. It also provides adequate insight and perception to productively marketing product. Proponents will also look for secondary data in online journals and articles that may have done studies related to the business and the industry. The survey method will contain questions that will help in classifying their target customers' buying frequency. What does it need to do to make the customers purchase? How much they are willing to pay and their preferred kinds of products. The business will establish in Calamba City, Laguna. It would be along the national road so people could easily locate the store and would attract potential customers. Because of numerous factors that are needed to be considered, especially considering the rental costs and foot traffic, the survey forms are handed out in various neighborhoods in Calamba City, Laguna, and aim a total of 50 respondents that targeted males and females ages 18 to 29 years old, since this age group considers as the most likely to purchase clothes. The results of the conducted survey will show the respondents' preferences on where they usually buy their clothes, their basis on buying clothes, and how much they are willing to pay, interest and likeness to purchase clothes, and what to improve in upcycling that will help the business to improve and succeed. In figure number 1, shows the results respondents' preference on where they usually buy their clothes that ranges to age 18 to 29 years old. 54.74% of the respondents' preference on where they usually buy their clothes answered mall. Next on the highest preference is 21.40% came from independent stores, 18.84% from online stores, last is 7.2% came from others. Example given are thrift stores, Divisoria, and etc. Respondents' basis upon buying clothes are given in number 2, which mathematically shows that quality as basis for buying clothes is the highest data gathered as 36.57%. And second to the highest is design as basis that went to 36.28%. While the third one to the highest is 16.55%, while the least preference is at 10.60%, which is branding. In data figure 3 shows that the highest answer for willingness of a certain respondent is 301 to 500 pesos that went to 34.17%, while next on the highest is 24.54% as 501 to 1,000 pesos, and the third one is 19.72% as 201 to 300 pesos. Next is 12.15%, 1,001 pesos and above. Lastly is 9.40% to be 200 pesos and below. Figure number 4 shows the result of respondents' frequency of purchase. The highest result is 42.86% of the respondents' purchasing capacity is once a month. Next on the highest purchasing capacity is 31.15%, which is 2 to 3 times a month. 11.71% for the respondents who buy their clothes once every year. 8.43% for once a week, and 5.85% for 2 to 3 times a year. Based on the results, respondents tend to buy or purchase clothes once every month. And figure 5 shows how interested the respondents are to upcycled clothing that typically puts interest as 53.75% to be the highest and even made the half of all the results, while some are very interested to be second to the highest as 21.79%. Somehow interested is 20.1%, while the lowest is the least interested ones that went to 4.36%. In figure 6 shows how likely respondents are to buy upcycled clothing that shows that likely has become the highest data with 49.64% value. Second is somehow likely that scored 24.46%. Next is 18.87% as very likely and 7.2% as the lowest, which is unlikely. Figure 7 shows what the respondents want to improve in upcycled clothing. 45.13% to be the highest that agrees to improve the quality of the product, while second goes to 38.12%, which is the design. Next is 11.28% for the price, and lastly is brand to be 5.47%.
Description of the industry. Upcycled clothing is under fashion industry that will be competing with other business that produce t-shirt and other clothing business that offer second-hand and ready-to-wear clothes for both men and women in the Philippines. Existing competitors. Competitors are the present of the line of industry of the industry are closely to be ready-to-wear stores and social media second-hand sellers. For they offer use product like the business does well, but the differs of the process of the renewing the clothes of fabric that leads another competitor which the present clothing business available in the markets that can probability be relevant with the business possible price range which are pen shop, bench, oxygens, SMU clothing. Because since the upcycle clothing is starting up, the company's lack of connection which the supplies and the materials will come from its any circumstances of or discrepancy that may happen without establishing good and reliable suppliers. The opportunities of the upcycled clothing is fewer competitors have the same concept and the quality of the business. The product is much more valuable than the other competitors because the materials have a constructive ability of renewing product with many possible repetitions. The business is also aware from the threats that will come. The changes in the economy dictates the movement of the market. One of the threats of the upcycled clothing is to foresee is since the company is starting up, it will be adjusting on how market move and what affects the improvement of the remaining competitive in the market.
Consumers tend to purchase for healthy things without any second thought and will pay more for them. Major brands in particular say that they are keen to build trust in their products by becoming more environmentally and ethically conscious because the consumers nowadays are more aware and people's desire to minimize their impact on the environment and spend on ethical products. Positioning strategy. Upcycled clothing aims to bring newness to the market since its strength is to offer t-shirt designs that came from upcycled materials and provide quality products that can be proved by doing the cleaning process of raw materials to maintain the quality of the business entity. Objectives. To be effective and efficient, the objective should be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. The main objectives of the business is to gain profit, increase its scale to emerge in the future, and build brand awareness. The first objective of the business is to reduce the consumption of textile industry and be placed in better use and address an environmental awareness of the said issue. Strategy draws from the ultimate vision of the product life cycle. It states where the product will end up. By setting a product strategy, you can determine the direction of your product efforts, just as a business has a strategic vision of what it wants to be when it grows up. The product has its own strategy and destination. Our pricing strategy helps the business to know the price floor and price ceiling of the product to maintain reasonable price. Since consumers are willing to pay more for environment-friendly products and the price is the least preference to consumers when it comes on buying clothes, the upcycled competing price will range from 300 to 500 pesos since other competitors are also ranged to this price and is supported based on the service. Our distribution strategy, the distribution channel would be B2B, business to business, and or B2C, business to customers. The business will be open for qualified resellers and retailers that meets the standard of the business. It can be online sellers and independent business. The qualification of the business is simple but strict. There will only be a minimum purchase needed as wholesale for retailers and a good background, and can also be a startup background as long as there are no malicious and suspicious content about the retailers themselves. Our promotion strategy, the business needs to increase brand awareness. As stated in the result of the survey, malls are one of the most common place where customers usually buy their clothes, and also social media is one of the common place where the company's target market usually spends time. As a result, upcycled clothing will enter mall bazaars as a promotional strategy to expand the reach of the business. In the said bazaar, the company is obliged to present promotional paraphernalia such as business cards, flyer,